Okay, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. A few things. The winter is dying down here in Latvia. It's very foggy. I can actually see the roots at the base of the tree outside for the first time in months, which is interesting and quite pretty. Anyway, I popped up with a couple of things. I'm doing a YouTube thing again. Um, Oops. Hello. Sorry for the echo. Chick, 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 chick. 1, 2.
Hello there, it is President Trump here to boost my approval rating. Hello there, it is President Trump here to boost my approval ratings with the sweaty virgins demographic.
I clicked on this because I fell for it. This is pure clickbait. Donald Trump trolls our creator players. Okay, so this is a funny.
Donald Trump! And then you get these people who you just met who start begging you for stuff.
Hey, you guys for a zip line by chance?
No, not in a million billion years.
Why? Why not?
Or they start begging you to help them with their quests. Quests you've never even
This
heard
dude
of. I met a gentleman the other
soundboarding
day.
instead
He
of
said,
talking.
Mr. Trump,
Well, obviously, the proximity chat is a big deal, and our creator is a big component of it. It was part of the beta test for The Division when it came out by Tom Clancy way back in 2015, and everyone who beta tested it loved that feature, but then they cut it out. I'm not sure why. Maybe it's a tech thing, maybe it was something else, but well played to the developers, our creators, for whatever it is they did. I'm starting to see that is what it is, that you can just, it's closer to that guy who was talking about connections in real life and how it's impacted him, the dude in his 50s, in such a profound way. That's what it is. It's an open world with all the elements that trigger like neurological responses, surviving, thriving, socializing, without the limitations of, oh, I'll invite you to my group, invite you to my party, blah, blah, blah. If anyone's close enough, another player is close enough to you, you can talk with them, be them friend or foe, and it's up to you to figure out, or it's up to the two of you to establish that, and that gets even more complicated and probably hijacks human, behavior responses even more when you're in groups and there's imminent peril.
please help me take out the queen. I said, well, don't worry about that. She got taken out years ago, right?
That is for everyone's safety.
And you can tell when they meet
For
me in
everyone's
game,
safety.
they want to ask one question.
Yo, why were you on Epstein's list, bro?
Huh.
No, let's not go down that path, okay? Look, a lot of people want to know about Jeffrey Epstein. I didn't know him at all. We did maybe 1 or 2 raids together, both with 3 loadouts, and his gameplay was terrible. I think that might have been his biggest flaw, if you want to know the truth.
That guy's
Just
nodding.
awful. You could
Nodding.
give him a Torrente, and he couldn't take out a wasp.
Yeah. Oh my God, I love it.
And some of these people are really sick, I'll tell you. But they got a good heart. Hello, it's your president, Donald Trump. Here to clap some cheeks. We're going to be clapping cheeks, folks.
You want to clap my cheeks?
Maybe not, but I don't know. I could go one way or another. Kind of like that Guitar Hero song, right?
Graphics look great on it, though. All right, the darker psychology behind Arc Raiders' loot system. This got my attention.
In my previous videos, I've spoken about the beauty of Arc Raiders.
Yes, a lot of people are.
Silence, the tension, the sound design, the way the world feels abandoned but alive. I've talked about the game's emotional pull on all of us and how it lingers in our minds, how the atmosphere does something that most extraction shooters don't even attempt. And I meant every single word of that. But today, I want to play devil's advocate. What if that same mastery of all those design features and tension is doing something else too? Well, let me ask you something honestly, Raider. Have you ever finished a raid, extracted safely, looked at your inventory, and yet still thought, just one more raid? Not because you had to, not because your squad or duo teammate asked you to, but because maybe, just maybe, this would be the raid where the rare blueprint finally drops. And when you enter, you open that container, there's a slow, staggered item reveal as the item border colours shift from green to blue and more.
After long days on this frozen planet, I found an abandoned base.
Is that simply just loot? Or is that something that we've seen before? In a casino? Well, let's slow this down first. Picture this. You're on the top side. You've fought through arc patrols and enemies, you've avoided other raiders, and
this sounds like
risked your
slow
best
setup.
gear. You finally find a
Yeah, you put a lot of effort into something.
tone,
Okay. Playing the
a
game.
distinct sound, and a rarer colour tier is revealed. And at that moment, that spike, well, in behavioural psychology, this is known as a reinforcement trigger. Slot machines are also engineered around this very principle. It's not just about the flashing lights, but escalating audio and visual feedback.
It's featured everywhere. Anything digital. I'm streaming right now. If somebody starts watching or I get a like, it'll get a little ping, I'll get a little dopamine hit, and it'll encourage me to keep going. Social media does it, video games do it. Yeah, he's right. Casinos do it too. And casinos have been around a lot longer than video games and social media and whatnot. But okay.
Studies on gambling design show that sound effects significantly amplify perceived reward value, even when the monetary win is small.
Yes, the more senses you recruit to your neurology, as the this is basic, very basic behavioral psychology. The more senses that are triggered during the stimuli, the greater the response. It's B.F. Skinner. If you're interested to look that up, behavioral psychology. But behavioral psychology is limited by the fact that it oversimplifies human behavior, doesn't take into account all the cognitive stuff, your values, your principles, your personality. Actually, all that has stripped away, and it reduces us to what they call black box psychology. Give the rat a piece of cheese, and it'll at the end of the maze, and it'll find its way to the maze. So
the brain responds to the anticipation almost more powerfully.
The brain
than the
responds.
Actual reward itself.
The mind is.
And here's
different
where it gets interesting then, because Ark Raiders doesn't guarantee you what you're looking for, even when you go to a targeted location, even when the map condition increases a drop probability, even when you do everything, quote, optimally. There is still near misses are incredibly powerful.
Near misses are incredibly powerful because you get close. It's like teasing. It's like a big tease without the great reveal. Human connection, intimacy is so powerful and so addictive. You become addicted to the people you love for that exact reason, because all the senses are together: sight, smell, touch, audio, everything lights up together. So I think he's overstating the effect of it. Of course, when money is involved, and this is where the gaming industry is being criticized now for free-to-play games. They're free to play, but then they have these loot box features where you pay essentially to gamble on the possibility of receiving something. So I pay money for a loot box and I don't know what's in it, which is kind of like gambling dressed up as a video game. Arc Raiders is not a free-to-play game. You pay, you buy it, you own it, and then you play. So that's why I'm still curious where he's going with this. How Arc Raiders, the darker psychology, clickbait, all the titles, man, everything.
You search, you survive, and you extract.
Yeah.
As for the containers that you opened along the way, well, you didn't just open drawers or lockers, you completed a loop.
Yeah.
There was risk, anticipation,
reveal, dopamine reset.
Dopamine.
Yeah. But they're not paying per loot crate. They've paid for the game, and what they're paying for is to play this game and have that, loot. The same in World of Warcraft. Every raid you do, I don't know, like some people spend 3, 4, 5 hours in a raid with 20 other people to get to the end boss that's going to drop some loot and might increase the power of their characters. But I haven't paid for that raid. I paid for the game so that I could do this as many times as I want.
Reset. And when the blueprint you're looking for isn't there, the loop doesn't close. It actually stretches. And your brain whispers, one more run.
Yeah.
And this is not an accidental design. Modern game systems are deeply informed by behavioral economics. The designers understand the reward loops, the engagement cycles, and retention mechanics. But let's get something straight here, not because they're malicious, but because they're effective. And effectiveness keeps players playing.
Of course they're effective. Proof of how effective behavioral economics is the fact that everybody gets up and puts their pants on and goes to work in the morning for for a piece of paper that they believe is going to be worth something when they leave work, so that they can go buy something to put food in their mouths. That's all based on behavioral economics, the same principles behind.
This isn't just a wallet, it's a rare find. There's something different about owning something almost nobody else has. That's
the purchase of a game,
Sugi collection.
The click on an ad, the posting of a reel.
Here's the subtle part and why it feels different. Arc Raiders doesn't feel like gambling, does it? It feels like survival, and it feels...
Yeah, because it's not. What he's talking... I mean, if you... With the same logic, then I gamble every time I go to work. Because I don't know if I'm going to still have a job tomorrow. It's a gamble. Your workplace is a big loot crate. Is like what he's trying to say. Well, no, and I was trying to say, but if that's the case, then everything in life is a gamble. I might leave a comment on this. This video is starting to get on my nerves.
Earned. You fought
to put this guy in his place. He read a Wikipedia page about behavioral economics, and now he thinks he knows stuff.
And that's what makes it powerful. Unlike in a casino where you're passively pulling a lever or pressing the spin button, here you're actively struggling. That effort creates more justification. Now, let's take a step back and be fair here, because the nuance really matters.
The nuance matters a lot, bro.
Inherently unethical. They're in fitness apps. They're in social media notifications. They're in trading card games. They're in almost every modern multiplayer progression.
They're in every aspect of your life.
Some are just more obvious than others.
The monetary system itself is a system that has perfected.
Some are just more obvious than others.
It created it.
Uncertainty creates the excitement, and guaranteed rewards then kill tension.
Uncertainty creates the excitement, he said. Yes, it's exciting because it's a video game. It's not real. In real life, the uncertainty creates anxiety, insecurity. It prompts a response. I'm going to save more money instead of spend more money. That kind of thing.
So if every blueprint dropped on the first attempt, the system would collapse in itself. The world would feel flat. So the real issue here isn't really, is this gambling? The better question is actually, how aware are we of the psychological levers being pulled? Because awareness changes.
This is really, are we aware? And he said, with the dark, gloomy music in the background, are we aware? Are you aware of the fact that money is dead? You're working for something that isn't real, How aware are you? The more aware you became of that, the less incentivized you'd be, maybe, to make this little video.
changes your relationship to the system. If you recognize the loop,
It changes your relationship to the system, that's for sure.
Agency. You can stop playing on impulse and you can start playing with intention. And suddenly, the just one more raid thought becomes an educated choice, not a compulsion.
Okay, I can't fault them there.
Why this conversation is important.
That's why really wealthy people say the closer you get to money, the easier it is to acquire more of it, and the more that you acquire of it, the less meaning it has for you.
Extraction shooters thrive on tension, but tension combined with unpredictable high-tier rewards creates a unique engagement model. You risk your gear, you risk your time, you risk emotional energy, and the payoff is always uncertain, and that cocktail is extremely powerful. For most players, it's just thrilling. For some, especially those prone to compulsive behaviours, the loop can hit harder though. And that's not an accusation, it's just an observation about human psychology.
Okay,
And
fair enough. Okay, I'll leave this due to comments. I was clickbaited into this. Fair play. Now, as a qualified teacher in business and economics for 10 years, I can verify that a lot of the behavioral economics you touch upon is accurate. However, as a gamer, I am disappointed you do not address in a balanced. I'm disappointed that you have not balanced your argument about Arc Raiders loot system with analysis of, or rather, with a comparison to free-to-play games that charge money by the loot crate. In doing so, you might be able to, you might reach the conclusion that games like Arc Raiders, World of Warcraft, and the like, brackets, looters, are not the same. In terms of, not the same. Let's leave it at that. Next sentence. A paid game is something you, not the same, due to the monetary nuances. Allow me to explain. When you buy a game, you own it, and you own the right to, quote unquote, pull the lever on the slot machine to as you put it, as many times as you want for a flat rate. In that sense, every time you pull the lever, the cost of pulling it goes down and tends towards 0. The polar opposite of the economics behind other gambling, or behind successful gambling models. The free to play and pay to loot model often gets criticized for being gambling dressed up as gaming. Casinos, on the other hand, are honest in what they are gambling. And that is part of the draw for regular players / gamblers. So for video games, there is the critique of being deceptive gambling, in the sense that it is not gambling that is unethical, but the deception involved. Do not see how Arc Raiders or other AAA games like it are deceiving people in the same way as free to play games are. As most, if not all, most free to play games are. Now, on the point of reward systems, all games, indeed, all products and services, are modeled on the reward system within which they operate. Semicolon. The monetary system. If you read on behavioral economics, then you know what a nudge is, for example, and what incentives are. Question: are we being manipulated into working for our income? See if he answers. If he does, I'll let you guys know. All right. What's next? Donald Trump. What's up?
I'm Donald Trump, and I just pounded your ass.
That's funny.
I'm somebody that takes silence as consent to light you the hell up.
This dude's having fun, though.
You know why the back of
For
my
35
hand
pounds.
is so bruised? It's from bitch slapping
Or $50.
your mom's ass. And you know what? Possibly your sister's ass too.
Wow. Brutal.
Matthew Crooks has a better shot than you, okay? That I can tell you.
I wonder how much Donald Trump footage did this guy go through to make these sound clips.
You got binged, then you got bonged. You got bing bong.
Fair enough.
My father.
Oh
was a
yeah.
Very hard...
This crept up into my feed. This is that what's her name? That Evie. Isn't that her? Looks like her. Stop letting people hurt you without what? Without consequences. From that's her. Evie Pumpuras. Special Agent Evie. All right, what you got to say, Evie?
Man, like when I say hard, like I guess that's the term. He was like, he didn't want it. Don't feel sorry for yourself. I didn't understand what he was doing. I remember once I came home and I don't know what I was upset about. He's just like, what happened? And I'm like, this person did this and this to me. Somebody slighted me or it hurt me. They did something significant enough. And I felt betrayed. He's like, are you done crying? And I said, what do you mean? He's like, that's enough. And he's like, what did you do about it? I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, this person who did this to you, what did you do? And I said, nothing. He's like, you didn't say fuck you? And I was like, what? He's like, sometimes you got to learn how to say fuck you.
It's powerful. No, it is.
And I learned like, you know, well, and this is where sometimes I have to like manage my T-Rex. You and I talk about it. I'm very much in fight mode. But he taught me, he's like, you can't.
Big fan of
like,
the F word.
He would say, put some water in your wine. Talk about it. I'm very much in a fight mode. But he taught me, he's like, and I learned like, you know, well, and this is where sometimes I have to like manage my T-Rex. You and I talk about it. I'm very much in a fight mode. But he taught me, he's like, you can't just sit there. He's like, sometimes he would say, put some water in your wine and let things flow, let things pass. But he's like, but
Put some water in your wine is a very old Greek expression that dates back to ancient Greece, actually. Ancient Greeks used to water down their wine so that they could drink for longer and be merry without, the hangover, or, drinking too much. So the party could go on longer without it ending because everybody's too hammered. And in modern context, they use it as an expression to say sort of, how do I put this? Water to dilute how you're feeling about the situation a little bit. In other words, take it with a grain of salt. It's kind of like that. It's kind of like that. Take it easy.
Sometimes he's like, you can't let people or things break you to a point where you're like this. He's like, get up and go. My father was a very hard man. Like when I say hard, like I guess that's the term. He was like, he didn't want it.
Sometimes you just got to say, fuck you. That's the only response. Sometimes people hurt you. That's it. Fuck you and move on. Solid advice. Thanks, Special Agent Evie. What do we got next?
You have to see this.
You believe that men and women have roles.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you better believe it.
I mean, I do believe that if he wants a sandwich,
you make daddy a sandwich.
Most of the time.
No. Well, okay, let me ask you this. If me and you out and somebody say something slick to you,
you punch him in the face.
You want me to smack him in his mouth, right?
That's right.
So if I take you on a date and I say, look, baby, we gonna go Dutch.
No.
Exactly. If we walking up to the car and I don't open your car door, what do you say?
Open the door.
You better believe it.
Yeah, no, I am with you. I think
so you make daddy a sandwich.
I think I will.
I'm outside cutting that grass. Bring daddy some lemonade.
Yeah, what he's talking about
you have to see this.
What he's talking about is our double standards. A Hollywood actor destroys delusional feminist. It's this double standard of feminism that's creeping into consciousness, and I'm glad for it because I think it's high time that this happens. He says, if you're in a relationship, as that men and women have roles that they play in society, and as soon as a feminist or some people anyway hear that, they get uncomfortable with it, and it's only convenient when it works for them. For example, like he's saying, if I say, we're in a relationship, I'm hungry, make me a sandwich. And a woman goes, this is not 1895, you don't own me and blah, 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 blah. But then at the same time, they go out on a date, and if he doesn't open the door for her, if a random guy is, yeah, mean to her, she expects, there's all these expectations. I think I watched a video a couple days ago. There was that guy who was talking about impossible. Oh no, there was an article, impossible high standards that women are setting, and I think the impossible part of it is a little bit has to do with this double standard. You cannot, on the one hand, turn around and say to somebody, "You're my man," and be a man and provide for me, and then once he provides, the bread, the cheese, and the ham, you don't pick up the other end of that rope and make him a sandwich. You don't want your man to ask you to make a sandwich and expect the sandwich to be made, then go buy your own damn bread. I think this is also again a little bit clickbaity. It says delusional feminist. I think maybe not, because it's delusional feminists that this Hollywood actor is destroying, not a feminist. I think I have met feminists who believe in, and they do really believe in full equality, and that's fair enough. They don't want roles. They don't want to play a role, and they don't want to satisfy a role either. They truly want to be treated like men. They want to to do everything that a man does and live their lives like a man. But then the irony of that is that they're kind of accepting that the mode of operating that the traditional male role is the way that we all should be. Like that would make us equal, which, I don't know, is maybe it's a bit paradoxical. There's no femininity in it. If women want all the rights that men have had traditionally and want to live like men and operate like men, then that would kind of be the end of femininity, wouldn't it? Unless we're redefining femininity as masculinity, in which case traditional femininity is what they're saying. Maybe, I guess, is that traditional femininity is what was never real, was never intended. I personally don't believe that, and I don't believe it because look at the animal kingdom, right? Even in almost in every single species, the male and the female, which is physiologically built differently, neurologically built differently, is built that way so that they can fulfill different roles. They're not always similar to the roles that humans play, right? We're a very particular kind of mammal. Seahorse males carry the child. They're impregnated by the female. There's a whole variety in the animal kingdom, but the one consistent thing amongst all species is that the sexes take on different roles. And the most successful pairs, the most successful communities, flocks, herds, packs, whatever, are the ones where the males and the females are fulfilling those roles well. That's what makes them alpha.
Hi, I'm Dr. Tracy Marks, a psychiatrist, and I make mental health education videos. It turns out our brains are wired for social interaction.
And both are serving each other. That's how it works. And they're either serving each other for the greater good of their offspring, or they're serving each other for the greater good of their tribe, of their herd, of their pack. Just look at nature.
And when we don't get it, the brain changes.
Some sociologists argue that the reason why we reached the top of the food chain, why we have conquered planet Earth, is because we did it better than other species did, fulfilling those roles. The man brought the bread, the woman made the sandwich. That's what got us here. Now, I'm not saying that it has to be that dynamic, male and female. It can be the other way around. The man can make the sandwich and the woman can go get the bread. I'm not like saying that we have to stay the same forever. I'm all for innovation and evolution, but there are roles that need to be fulfilled, and the onus cannot be placed on just one partner, just one person in the relationship, or just on one sex. I'm all for the fluidity, if you will, of roles being available to everybody in any capacity, but the expectation of open the door, fight that guy for me, pay the bill, and I'm just going to get pedicures and manicures all day. I'm just going to play with our kids all day long. Is delusional, to put it lightly.
And you lose nerve connections in certain parts of the brain. Before COVID, this issue was more noticeable in older
What social isolation does to your brain. Okay. 1 second. Oh, pardon me. All right, here we go.
people who lived alone, cut off from their families, and maybe unable to drive. Researchers saw that the social isolation hastened the age-related cognitive decline and was a risk for developing Alzheimer's disease. But with COVID and the ensuing lockdown,
okay, so she's saying point number 1, social isolation increases brain aging.
We see the evidence of these.
By the way, there are also loads of studies into showing how playing video games does the opposite. It keeps brains younger for longer. It's like a cognitive neuroplasticity workout, studies show. And it does it better than anything else. That's the interesting part.
Brain changes in younger people.
I mean, in lieu of the absence of social interaction, perhaps.
You may experience it as brain fog.
That would be an interesting
Brain
meta
fog
study.
can be a lot of things.
Brain fog.
But in general, you can think and process information slower. You can have trouble finding words. You can feel mentally tired and draggy.
1000%. I have felt that on days where I'm grinding away at work and I just I cut myself off from socializing with people in the workplace, out of the workplace, online. I don't play video games. I stopped going to the gym. I stopped doing everything. And when I just start grinding away at work and I feel very, very isolated, I perform way worse at work than when I'm, managing my social or minimum,
even though you haven't done
mitigate
anything
my
that's
social
physically
isolation.
tiring. Why would social isolation?
I was wondering that even when you're physically not tired. Yeah. And I was wondering what was wrong. I actually thought that, I was sleeping fine. I was eating okay, but something was just off.
Do this. Your brain is made up of a network of nerves that connect to one another. The tighter the connections between the nerves, the better they are able to transmit signals from one nerve to another. Inflammation loosens these connections, as does social isolation. Social isolation affects your social cognition. Social cognition is a set of skills that include being able to read someone's emotional expression.
Social cognition. I never knew that phrase. Now I do. It sounds like emotional intelligence.
Remembering and recognizing someone whose face is familiar to you. Being able to interpret someone's tone of voice. And being able to empathize with another person and appreciate that they have their own desires, goals, and intentions.
Yeah, it sounds like EQ. It sounds a little bit like empathy, which is a part of EQ. Remembering, recognizing someone's face as familiar. That's another sort of, I guess, component to it.
This last skill is called theory of mind.
Really bad at
Why
that.
it's called that doesn't quite make
Trying
sense
to work
to me,
on
but
it.
that's just in case
Theory
you
of mind. I've heard
read
this one.
that in the articles that I have referenced. These skills are learned very early on, but we need social interaction.
I think she says in her article, I think theory of the mind has something to do with EQ towards yourself. So it's just like being able to recognize your own emotions in a situation, in a meta-emotional cognitive way. I think that's kind of a way of putting theory of the mind.
To maintain them. So some aspect of isolation is that you lose these skills because you fall out of practice. But then there's the brain changes. In one of the studies that I referenced, researchers looked at structural MRI data from 32,000 people. That's a large study. The people who were socially isolated showed brain loss in the temporal lobes, frontal lobes, and hippocampus. Your hippocampus is important for emotional memories, among other functions, and I've said before that people who are depressed have smaller hippocampi. Now,
So people who are depressed have smaller hippocampi. Hippocampi was your ability to It's like the emotional center of the brain, I think, which is kind of scary if you think about it. That's why they talk about depression being a spiral or a slippery slope. If you don't do something about it early, it gets harder and harder to break out of it. Because your mind is where the depression begins, and then it starts affecting your ability to feel things outside of the mindset that you're in. So then, like, you start feeling even more isolated because you're not picking up on other people's emotional signals. Things that used to feel fun don't start not feeling fun anymore, because actually your brain's ability to pick up on the funness of the thing that you used to find fun is being diminished by the depression. It's being killed by the depression. That is a scary thought, you know?
Now, if you've watched many of my videos, you probably know that I don't like presenting negative information without a silver lining, and here it is. Even if you have
Please give us the
brain
silver
loss
lining.
from pandemic isolation, depression, long COVID, or something else that causes brain damage, your brain
She's calling it brain
has
damage.
the ability to rewire itself and strengthen loose connections. This ability is called neuroplasticity.
That's what I was talking about, the neuroplasticity. So even though some parts get damaged because of the isolation that causes the depression and the anxiety, they're saving the silver lining is that our brains are very good at rewiring itself to look for new things. And it also is wired for survival, our brain is, right? But if I may evaluate what she's saying about this silver lining, neuroplasticity diminishes with age. So if you're the older you get, this is why some people are, and I take my hat off to them. You know, they put a lot of work and charity into preventing old people from feeling isolated as their families move on and leave them, you know, alone and stuff like that. Because if an old person, like a senior citizen, slips into depression, that couldn't literally be the death sentence for them. It becomes hard. Their emotional center of their brain starts getting smaller. The moody old man, you know, and their ability to rewire themselves, the light at the end of the tunnel, has also become harder and harder. So man, geez, that's.
So one solution to this problem of social isolation is to build up your cognitive reserve. Cognitive reserve
Build up your
is
cognitive
the mental
reserve.
buffer you have that lets your brain compensate and function even when you have reduced brain volume. It's like having a backup power generator turn on when the power goes out. And this is a real thing and explains why some people can get to their 80s and still be very sharp,
Yeah.
while someone else at 68 is having trouble remembering important events.
Right.
The more robust your
So the happy chappy old man or the chirpy old lady have built up their cognitive reserves. How, pray tell?
reserve, the better you're able to function when exposed to stressors like isolation, environmental toxins, chronic stress, or anything else that's damaging to the brain. So you
Okay.
can think of cognitive reserve as your brain's physiological resilience. Here are 5 things that can increase your cognitive reserve.
Go on.
Education,
Education,
high levels of social
interaction,
cognitively challenging jobs,
cognitively challenging
activities-
jobs, right? And if you don't have a cognitively challenging job, find something on the side that is challenging, you know? I believe in today's economy, with gig economy, everybody should have, everybody that's got a job should have something on the side that they're working on. You know, unless you have such a cognitively challenging job that you need the downtime. There's more benefit from the downtime than there is from the upside of having something a little bit more challenging. But if you're flipping burgers for like 45 hours a week, yeah, maybe do something on the side. Maybe, you know, try a bit of streaming or try and monetize something. It doesn't even have to be monetized, but it's a little bit sweeter, isn't it, when you do monetize something? Activities that engage your brain.
That engage your brain, like crossword puzzles.
Like crossword puzzles, reading.
Learning a new language.
Learning a new
and
language.
Learning to play an instrument.
Learning to play an instrument.
And then
Very
regular
good, yes.
physical exercise.
All that stuff is great because you also learn skills along the way. The crossword puzzle is a good way to learn vocabulary. You know, video games is in there as well. All those studies that reference it is that, and that's because it is very accessible. Anyone can play a video game. The downside is, yeah, you don't end up with a skill outside of, maybe in aim or things like that. But that's also what games you play and how you play them. Like I was talking yesterday about me with role-playing games, RPGs. My little side project thing. The other videos that I do, apart from this vlog thing, are kind of RP. So I have my World of Warcraft characters. And each character has his backstory. For years I've done this in my head, and I'm starting to use that as a vehicle for me to explore my ability to write and writing stories. So I'm creating a narrative, a story arc for each of those characters, little by little. Every time I play, I'm kind of I'm streaming. I'm gonna stream, not every time, but when I stream the game, there's a narrative inside of the description that is going to be a continuation of the previous one. Other people, and doing it in the game as well. But yeah,
because
regular physical exercise
stimulates nerve growth.
stimulates
And
nerve growth for sure.
means new pathways and connections.
Yeah, even though it might
explain
not be
how
that
that works in my video on how exercise
cognitively
changes your
loaded.
brain. Building up your cognitive reserve is something you do over a lifetime. It's not a one and done thing. You
She's
have
saying to do all of those
continuously-
things together
Cognitive reserve
for
is
building the
something you do
cognitive
over
reserve,
exercise
or
change.
any one of them.
And nerve growth means new
I'm assuming
pathways.
that a little bit of each of these is the best way to build the best kind of reserve, as opposed to a lot of just one of it, right? She doesn't specify though. Maybe it's a question to ask. I think I will ask. What's a better way to build the cognitive reserve? Doing a little bit of all 5, or a whole lot of just one on your list? Does it vary from person to person? Or is it strictly neurological? Person to person / psychology / personality. Or is it strictly neurological? Looking forward to your reply, Dr. Tracy Marks.
And connections. I explain how that works in my video on how exercise changes your brain.
Oh, well played, Tracy. She explains it in her video. Click there.
Building up your cognitive reserve is something you do over a lifetime. It's not a one and done thing. You have to continuously engage your mind.
Sure.
And education doesn't mean you have to go to Harvard or Oxford if you're in the UK. It's not about the kind of degree you get. It's about a commitment to learning and processing new information.
Yeah.
When I was growing up,
Growth mindset.
without the internet, the way that you gained knowledge was to go to school or go to the library and look things up in encyclopedias. But now there is so much information available online that you can get a very advanced level of education from researching and reading from trusted online sources.
Reading from trusted online sources. I'm glad she said that, because there's a lot of people who are going to watch this and think, oh yeah, I chat with ChatGPT all the time and it tells me stuff all the time. I don't think that counts. If you really want to get the highest quality of education, you do not need to go to college for it, or Harvard, like you said. True. But if you want facts, there is a system to facts called referencing. And if it's the more referenced something somebody says is, the more likely it is accurate. So it's like saying, if I drop a ball, it's going to fall. And I can reference, Newtonian physics that explains that mass times velocity is momentum, or how proof that gravity is 9.8 meters per second. I don't need to explain that. I just need to say, when I can say, when I drop this ball, it'll fall. And if I want to be factual about it, I can reference the science behind that, the facts behind that, which is that, study that did blah, blah, blah.
If you want to learn a new language, there's online courses.
And why is science right? It's evidence-based. That somebody at some time took a ball and dropped it and timed how fast it falls, and took a feather and dropped it and saw how fast it falls in a vacuum, no air resistance, and that they fall at exactly the same rate. There is no way you can argue that that did not happen. It happened, there it is, and there's the data. So that is a fact.
Courses for that. Then there's even free YouTube videos that can teach you a lot about a lot of different things.
Oh, another thing to get published is that it needs to be a replicable experiment. It means that it can't just be a one-off. It has to be that this is what happened. Try it, and you'll see for yourself. And people do try it, and it's, oh yeah, yeah. And then that's how things become facts. How many reposts it gets, or how many retweets it gets, or how many likes it gets is not proof of validity.
You just have to stay curious. This list that I just gave you isn't exhaustive. Diet, sleep, and self-care also factor in. But the one thing I like about this list is that most of the factors are within your control. You may not be able to control how challenging your job is. In fact, it may be a mind-numbing struggle for you to get through it every day.
Okay.
But you can compensate for the hit that your brain takes from that kind of job by exercising before you go to work, if you can swing that schedule, or working on mind puzzles during your lunch hour or when you get home. And by the way,
that's good advice.
Don't mistake a
I'm gonna do that.
stressful job for a mentally challenging one. Too much work with unrealistic deadlines can make your work stressful, but it doesn't mean it's mentally challenging in a positive way.
I've never been one for mobile gaming. I prefer the comfort of a console or, the power of a PC game, but I might start doing that, playing a little mini game on my breaks at work on my phone. I see other people do it all the time, actually, and probably a smart move.
Mentally challenging work should feel satisfying at some level, even if it's hard work. Take a look at this video on what exercise does to your brain. Thanks for watching. See you next time.
Thank you, Dr. Tracy.
When you're struggling to focus.
That was great. I really enjoyed that.
This is what WoW's gonna look like.
What WoW 2.0 would look like by the one and only Asmund Gold. Quick one, minute and a half.
In 700 years.
Long ago, the Orcish horde was corrupted by the Burning Legion and lured to the world of Azeroth. For generations, the Orcs made war upon the human kingdoms of Stormwind and Lordaeron. Though the horde was ultimately defeated, a visionary young war chief named Thrall rose to lead his people in their darkest hour. Under Thrall's rule, the Orcs freed themselves from the chains of demonic corruption and embraced their shamanistic heritage. After years of wandering, the Orcs founded their own kingdom.
It's amazing.
In the harsh wastelands of Durotar. Based in the warrior city of Orgrimmar, they stand ready to destroy all who would challenge their supremacy.
This is what it looked like whenever I played it the first time.
Yeah, yeah, right on.
Defender of Durotar, it is your duty to crush your enemies, both seen and
Me too.
unseen. For the nefarious agents of the Burning Legion still wander the land.
This is fucking amazing. Look at that. Oh god, man. Why is this hasn't happened yet, man?
Why can't it
Turn
happen?
Off? Turn it off. You don't want to see it? WoW 2, please. Like, I would just love to see something like this. This would be so amazing. This guy needs to be hired somewhere good. Yeah, this is amazing. I fucking love this, man.
Yeah, agreed. That kind of, if the graphics, if they upgraded just the graphics of that game to modern standards, I think that's, whenever I talk about WoW 2.0, I'm always taking it to other places like VR and whatnot and cross platform, blah blah blah, on the tech, but on the technical, the dev side of things. But now that I saw that, I agree that alone would be enough, I think. to justify calling it 2.0, version 2. And last but not least, LinkedIn unveils most in-demand job skills in 2026. Oh, job skills. I thought it was most in-demand jobs. But okay, job skills. I'll take it.
This morning, LinkedIn is out with its annual list of skills
2026.
on the rise.
Skills on the rise.
Areas of expertise
Let me guess. AI?
employers are looking for right now.
And joining us with an exclusive first look, LinkedIn's editor-in-chief, Mr. Dan Roth. Dan, always good to have you.
Thanks for having me.
We talk about skills a lot when you come on, but you maintain that now more than ever.
In case you guys don't, anyone who doesn't know, maybe, you know, you've never need to use it or you live under a rock. LinkedIn is like the Instagrams, Facebook, and YouTube all rolled into one for careers and career progression. It's where companies post jobs, where they post their content, where job seekers post their professional profiles, their content, where employees, employers, candidates all network together. It's been around almost as long as Facebook has. So if you don't know it and you're not on it, get on it.
Skills are paramount. Why is that?
Yeah, so first for this list, what we're looking at is growth patterns across two areas. There are 1 billion profiles on LinkedIn. We were looking at the skills that people are.
There are 1
adding
billion
to their
profiles on LinkedIn.
And then the skills of people who got a job in the last year. So one tells us the most in-demand skills for employees, the other for employers. Now, why does this matter? The skills are how people get hired. We are seeing increasingly that companies, small and large, are hiring based off of skills. So they are seeing what you're capable of doing, not what your last title was or where you went to school. And the great part is that the skills travel with you. So in times of crazy change like we're going through.
He's right. People have been hired, and this is not a 2026 trend. As this is a trend. I'm saying this from a job seeker's perspective. Who I have found jobs through LinkedIn. I've in the past, in the last 4 years, 5 years maybe. There's been this shift of. It's less about where you studied, what grade you got. Like 20 years ago, that was probably one of the highest things. Where you studied from, who certified you, and what grade you got in the 90s especially. And then everything else was just kind of shaped and molded. Then it shifted into job titles. What was the last job you did? If the last job you did was like digital marketing executive and you were applying for a digital marketing executive or something below digital marketing executive, you were likely to get hired. And then it started shifting into pure skills-based thing. What can you do for us? What can you do for me right now? Like if you start, if I hire you and you start on Monday, I have this problem. You know, I have this sink that needs fixing. Can you fix sinks? How good are you at fixing sinks? And that's it. That's what they hire. And they don't care what you did before, or where you studied or how much you studied. It matters less and less and less now. And I think this is because the economy has been shifting from a period of abundance and rapid growth to stagnating, slipping, dipping. It's been up and down, back and forth. There's so much uncertainty now that employers want guarantees, and a guarantee is, yeah, sure, I can fix your sink. I got my own tools too. I'll bring my toolkit Monday. How's 6 o'clock sound? Great, you're hired.
Through having certain skills, you will be able to take those to any new job, new industry that you're going to, and you can gain skills over time. So this is an important list for people to pay attention to if they're starting their career or if they're deep into it.
So I can imagine, no surprise, I'm sure AI is at the top of the list, but not just about technical skills with
That's
AI.
right. Yeah, so there's kind of two big buckets here. One is the technical skills. This is about helping companies either build AI systems or implement AI systems. Probably the skill most people would recognize here is around prompt engineering. There's one called data annotation that's worth paying attention to. After that, it starts getting deeply technical and wonky. The other one is sort of more strategic, how you can use AI in your company to work more efficiently. And so companies are desperate for people who can do that. The good news is it is early innings here. So we've talked a lot about AI, but it's still the early days of it. Yeah. You can gain these skills. They are accessible to anyone. They don't just require like deep STEM or math skills. You can actually gain these skills, so they are worth investing in now.
So for people out there who are scared that AI is taking over the world, there are some employers who are still looking for people-oriented skills, right? What are those?
I actually think these kind of go hand in hand. So companies are changing faster than ever. And in order to implement that change, you need people who can adapt, who can stay agile. You want teams that work well together. And those
Okay, so the skills is the hard skills he's really referring to. And now he's talking about soft skills, right? So the soft skills, the people-orientated skills, as I say, leadership and team management, mentoring, developing talent. Yeah, that's definitely one that, in my personally, that gets a lot of attention whenever I have had callbacks. It's the fact that I've worked as a teacher and I'm a qualified teacher. Companies find that attractive because they see the ability to mentor, develop talent, etc. It's a skill and it's a hard and a soft skill, because I have the soft skill. Anybody who's done it in the past as a manager position, they've probably developed the soft skills. But I also, as pedagogy is a hard skill. Clear, effective communication, keeping execs and clients informed, public speaking, teaching, managing relationships, entrepreneurship. Yeah. This is so good advice.
Human skills. Those require human skills.
I'm really getting into it now.
Two big buckets. One is sort of leadership and people management, and the skills there are two really cool skills that are emerging: mentorship and talent development. So helping people realize what they're capable of. Companies are looking for that. The second one is around communication. We have seen a doubling in the last year of job postings asking for people with storytelling skills. Oh, so that's really cool. Yeah, so this is good news.
Asking for people with storytelling skills. Mm-hmm. That's a new one.
You want people who are able to do public speaking is a skill that's on the rise, and the ability to do like write emails or do cross-functional memos. All this stuff is the idea that people need to be able to work well together in times of change. That requires human skills to get people on board.
How should they go about figuring out what they are good at, what their best skill is, and maybe even an area where they could use some work?
Totally. So it's important to remember, like, these skills, you don't just gain a skill and you have it for life. You can always gain new skills. You're not locked into the skills that you have. Now, if you want to know what skills you do have, it helps to ask colleagues or friends or people you volunteer with. Hey, what am I good at? Yeah, exactly. What do you need me to do here? And usually they are repeating back to you the skills that they think you're excellent at. So that's helpful. And then you can always gain new skills. So there are more free courses than ever where you can go get these skills, but really the key is practicing them. So join church groups, join community functions, volunteer for stuff in work, join community functions, is practicing them. So courses than ever.
Finding your skills. Think impact, not titles. That's a good one. Input from others. That's a good one. Courses and workshops, if you got the time for it. Take on new projects or work functions. Hear that.
Where you can go get these skills, but really the key is practicing them. So join church groups, join community functions, volunteer for stuff in work, ask for stretch assignments. Go and try to do things that will enable you to be able to try out new skills and really kind of perfect them.
So many people have kind of the similar skills that you have, and you put what you've got on a resume. Yeah. But how do you take that and go beyond it so that the employer sees more of you as a whole person?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I think people are tempted to almost just kind of list their skills like it's a grocery list. You want to be able to tell stories. This goes back to storytelling. You want to tell stories around your skills. When did you use them effectively? And it's not just work. When did you use them in a volunteer organization or in a college group that you're part of? Talk about your skill, but then figure out the anecdote around that skill. And then if you can do that on your profile or on your resume, you can also then do it in your interview. People are they want to connect with you during interviews, so they want to hear you tell a story around those skills. So it's really important.
Yeah, on the interview part, people want to hear you tell the story of your skill, like how you used it to do what, which is kind of sometimes in reality, this guy he's a LinkedIn guy, but in reality, the way that plays out sometimes can be a little bit of the Wild West, especially if then, the story is not enough and then they ask you for proof and then you have to deliver on some kind of task or some kind of project. That can sometimes lead to you being a victim of your own success. If the task is the sink that they need fixing, and you fix the sink for them when you're still in the interview stage, why should they hire you? not to sound like paranoid or anything, but yeah, it's there's a wide range of things that can happen in any social network, and that's true for LinkedIn too. There are even fake applications. There are come across companies that were not real. They were like, full on scams. Like some dude with a laptop in Kenya, or wherever. I've come across companies there. I'm not going to name them, but there are companies that are doing this, walking the gray area of using AI during the recruitment process to essentially train their AI system for free, because candidates are prompting it as part of the onboarding or part of the interviewing process, which is really cheeky.
Important. Know your skill and then have stories around each of those skills.
That's great advice.
Man, I always enjoy when you're here, buddy.
Thank you, Dan. Appreciate
When
it.
we get fired, you're our first call.
Let's start a company together.
First call.
Hey, thanks for watching. And don't forget, you can catch the Today Show every morning on NBC.
Okay,
or
good stuff. That'll do me. And talk less, get hired.